Yeah.
Rick,
Hey, Megan, it's a beautiful Tuesday.
it is a beautiful Tuesday, and yeah, I wish it was a margarita night, but it doesn't look like it. But that's okay.
Well, you can always make it a margarita
Taco
night.
Tuesdays, margaritas,
That's
but
5 o'clock somewhere. We know that.
so I got my email this morning from
hmm
Stephen Thomas. He's a
hmm
quantitative what is his official? It's quantitative
Real estate
analyst.
economist,
Yeah,
analyst. Yeah.
yeah. I'm so sorry, Stephen, that I don't have it right here. But anyway, Stephen's a super smart cookie,
Yeah.
and I share these reports with my farm, and we have an online newsletter at meganshomes.com, and so people can pull up the information there for themselves because there's very strict sharing guidelines here. But
Right.
I was alerted this morning because I get up at 4 and start pounding away so I can go
hmm
do all the things I want to do during the day.
Yeah. hmm
And the email said the subject said, "Welcome to a buyer's market." And I went, ding, 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 ding. I mean, he's rung the
Open
bell.
that one.
We've
Yeah,
seen
boy.
it. We've seen things creeping towards a buyer's market, and officially, Stephen's calling it's a buyer's market. And so, what does that mean? That means that the demand and the amount of houses that we have for sale is sort of meeting at a level spot, right? So that there's a buyer for every house. There's still probably 10 buyers for special houses, but that
hmm
things have evened out, that it's not
Yeah.
a
Finally.
shortage. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that people, as they start to see some of this stuff in the news, and let's face it, you and I can both agree that you'll see this in the nightly news. They'll make us some exaggerated headline. It's fake news. It really is. It's just it's clickbait stuff. And I think that, we've talked about this for 4 or 5 years now, I think, about a balanced market and, how exhausting it is. I think at one point was it 2021, there was Orange County like 16 or 1700 homes on the market.
It's
And a
nothing.
balanced market's more like 6 or 7,000 homes, right?
Yeah,
We
something like
recall those
that.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, 2019 was the last time the housing market went like this.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
2019. And then
Mhm.
2020, we had the whole pandemic situation.
Right.
And then we had these interest rates. So yeah, it's been like a hell of a ride. And then nobody wanted to
hmm
sell. It's like, come
hmm
on, people, you gotta get moving here so people can buy houses. And so here are the stats. Here's what um, Steven said. He said that in 2022, rates started at 3.25 in January, and in October, they were 7.37, right?
No, that was painful.
That was unheard of. And the
hmm
market still did not break, right? But
Right.
there's a crack, but people
hmm
were
hmm
still things were still moving.
hmm
And then, people weren't selling, they were holding. And now people were starting to um, put their houses up for sale. So it says that, um, let's see here, I've got the numbers right here. I apologize. He said in
You're fine.
2024,
hmm
there were still 31% less sellers than what has been in the past. But in
hmm
2025, we have 25% more year over year. So that's additionally another 1,900 sellers. So
hmm
things are starting to even out. So that's what it means. So,
hmm hmm
you had talked about what is the news going to do with this type of information and how they're going to, manipulate it so that people
hmm
start having manipulated emotions. So, what this means for a buyer And what does this mean for a seller to have a more balanced
Hmm.
market?
Hmm.
Because if you've been a realtor for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you probably are not going to know quite what to do with this information.
No, they don't. They
Yeah.
don't. They really don't.
Every once in a while, you'll get some realtor who's clueless and you've got no offers on a house and they offer you, 50,000 over asking. And you go,
Mhm. Yeah, where'd
okay,
that come from? Yeah, I'll
okay,
take
well,
it. Thank you.
I guess we'll consider that. So anyway, so
Hmm.
if you are a buyer and you're out
Hmm.
shopping for a home, knowing this information, you have to ask yourself a
Hmm.
couple of things. Is the house that you're looking at already priced really well? If it's already priced really well, it's probably still going to have demand. It's probably still going to have
Hmm.
multiple offers. We're
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
averaging 5 to 10 offers on houses that are priced well. And does it have something special about it? Okay. Is it on a large lot? Those are hot properties because everybody wants to build an ADU. Is it a
Hmm.
historic home with a tax break? That's another high demand home. So is there something special about this house and unique? Does it, have a 4-car garage or whatever the situation is? So as a home buyer, you have to lean on your agent to help you assess what's special about this house, how long has it been on the market, what's the motivation in order for you to craft your offer. You no longer have to just throw all of your money,
Hmm.
down and
Hmm. Hmm.
your organs and your firstborn to get a house. You could now more
Yeah.
thoughtfully craft your offer presentation. What do you say
Yeah.
about that, Rick?
Well, a lot to unpack there, Megan. Good stuff. So, look, I think that here's the good news. I look at how why you have to look at the reasons why they are, right? So instead of jumping to why we're in a buyer's market, the market's going to crash, that's not the case. So you have to look at the reasons why, and from my point of view. So we've already established that the housing inventory is up. I can't recall the exact percentage from last year, but it's
Yeah.
still healthy, right? But here's the key point. Year to date, from this period last year,
Hmm.
2024, in Orange County, there were
Hmm.
1,615 home sales.
Hmm.
Year to date, 2025, even though there is a larger amount of homes on the market, year to date sales, 1,614. Difference of
Hmm.
one sale over the same period of time. Okay.
Can I
But
tell
but
you,
with re Mhm.
you had said how much is it? It's so inventory is 61% higher than last year. So
In
last
the same
year,
number of sales.
yeah, last year there were 3,048 homes for
Mhm.
sale, which was 115% higher than 2023 had only 2,281 homes for sale. Now we have 4,900.
And we know that that is not a high number of houses for sale in Orange County, historically speaking. We know
Right.
that. But
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean now to home buyers? Well, here's what this means from my perspective, and I'm sure it is yours as well. We both have been through all these markets over decades for you and I. One thing that really bothered me during that really tight period when we had, 1,700 homes, 2,000 homes, we had really, really well qualified families, really cool people, 5% down, 3.5% down, high FICO scores, super qualified. You write an offer, they go, no, forget that. We want 20%, 30% down. We're not even gonna consider that offer.
Yeah.
That makes me angry. It really
Mm-hmm.
does, because that was not fair to those hardworking families who saved like crazy to save 3%, 5% down, and they can qualify to buy a house. But then you have these sellers go, no, we only want 30% down, 50% down. Nonsense. Here's the good
Mm-hmm.
news. Now we're in a more of a balanced market. You can have a buyer that's got 3% down, 5% down. Guess what? They're going to entertain your offer now. That's great
Yeah.
news. That's great
Mm-hmm.
news. So that's going to open up a lot more opportunities for really good qualified families who are seriously motivated to buy a house, and they're not in it to flip it or to make some cash fast money, which we saw a lot over that period of time, right?
Right.
And so that's the good news. Rates are going to pretty much stay in this where we're at. Here's also something that's really, really important to know, and I think some people miss this, is that we are, and this would make this point clear, we are not in a distressed market. That is not the case. Home sellers are not distressed. If you look back, 10, 12 years ago, 2008, 9, 10, how long has that been? 15 years, I guess. 15 years, I can't believe it. Guess what? Those home sellers were stressed out. You know why? Because we had these stated income loans, no qualifier
Mhm.
loans, no, all this nonsense.
Mhm.
And so people were buying homes that could never qualify to buy and couldn't afford to make the payments. And then that caught up with them. And then what happens? Well, now you have a whole lot of distressed sellers, and that creates panic. Since Dodd-Frank, we know for a fact that there's this little rule that no one seems to know about, and it's called ATR, ability to repay. It's a very clear rule in lending. And so home buyers in the last 15 years, they're not getting a home loan until they can qualify. It means they have the ability to repay that mortgage, and they're showing assets, income, and credit to buy that house. So for that reason, sellers are not distressed. They can qualify,
Right.
they're still living in their homes. So we're not going to go into a market crash. Are we going to see some adjustments? Yes, we are, because we know that sellers who think their house is worth 100,000 more than the neighbor because their house is kind of cool, well, guess what? It's not so cool anymore. It's just not, right? And so home sellers who don't price their homes correctly, they're making a big mistake because they're going to miss the market. And those are the
Oh,
homes that
yeah.
set on the market. They're not selling, and guess what they're doing? They are reducing their price. Okay,
Mhm.
right? But to your point earlier about multiple offers, yeah, we're getting multiple offers. I had an offer over the weekend, multiple offers. We lost the house to multiple offers. You know why? Because that house was priced fairly. It was a good house, priced right. Boom, sold.
Right, done.
That's it.
Now, just
Yeah.
to touch on something you mentioned. So
Hmm.
in Stephen's report, it says that short sales and foreclosures combined comprised of only 0.2% of all
Wow. Wow.
listings.
Wow.
So there's only
Okay.
12 in Orange County, a distressed
And how
home.
many
So
homes for sale, Megan?
yeah,
Almost, was it 4,900 homes for sale?
4,900. Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
got it.
And how many are in default or
12,
distress? 12.
12. Yeah.
That
Thank
answers the
God. Because I
question.
really, you know how many
Yeah.
bank repos I sold in, I don't know, 4 years? I think it was like 250. It was awful. It
It
was
was
the
every
hardest.
house was yeah.
It was the hardest work I have ever done in
Oh,
my life. I worked
yeah.
18 hours a day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had a staff of I don't know how many because we had to do so much work and reporting and court dates and clean out.
Oh
That's not
no. Oh my
that's
gosh. Yeah.
not
Cash
counting
for
on
keys.
expenses. Oh
Remember
gosh.
those cash for
Oh
keys? Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a
Every
gun
sale
pulled
was
on
like
me
that though.
once. Yeah, I had a gun pulled on me once. We
Oh,
had
that's right. I
drug
remember that. Yeah, I
addicts.
forgot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I was just I'm okay though. Everything's great. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You're a
so
survivor.
buyers, I've seen
Yeah.
a couple of like weird situations in my neighborhood. There were two houses that were bought like last year, and
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
paid well over asking for these houses, and then they put them back on the
Hmm.
market and sold them at a loss. But I think that those houses, a lot of people are still trying to buy houses and turn them into vacation rentals in Anaheim. And you
Hmm.
can't
Hmm.
do that. For God's sakes, people, before you throw $1 million plus at a house, do your damn homework. You cannot buy any more vacation rentals in Orange County or in Anaheim unless they
No,
already have
no.
a permit.
Yeah,
Geez,
not
they're
gonna
not
happen.
handing out any more
Yeah.
permits, people. Anyway, so
Hmm.
some of those situations you see have different, circumstances.
Sure. Hmm. Hmm.
And but yeah, so the rule is do your homework before you write an offer, carefully craft it, assess the situation. Is it already priced
Hmm.
well? If it is, it's going to have
Hmm.
multiple offers. And does it have something special about it? That sort of thing. So just assess the situation.
Hmm.
And, have your realtor pick up the phone and talk to the other realtor. For God's sakes, pick up the phone and
Hello.
find out what is going on. Have you had any offers? What's the situation? And that'll help you to craft your offer. Okay. But
Yeah, that's a
for a
good
home
point. Very
seller,
good point.
yeah, for
Hmm.
a home seller, yeah, the pricing is absolutely the umbrella under, everything else is under there. So is it in a bad
Yeah.
location? Needs a low price. If it's in a good location, it can have a higher price. This is not rocket science, but over the last
Hmm.
couple of years, people aren't used to this because the market, you could have a house at the corner of a railroad track, a freeway, 4 stories, no elevator. You're just walking, kitchen's on the top story, and people are just throwing money at you. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
That's over. That's done.
And
So
that's not a bad thing, by the way.
yeah,
It's
we
actually,
mean this
that's a
is
good
kind of
thing.
bananas. Everything,
Yeah.
so hopefully, we'll just kind of have a normal sort of a market so that people can make wise decisions. And I had a couple of people call me in the last few weeks that said that they were looking back 2021, 22, and they just got discouraged. So now they're ready to get in the
Mm,
market again. So that would be good. Like just like what you said,
that's good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a balanced market, and that's where I think we need to be. And the market in Orange County still is up 4.6% this year. So
Yeah,
we are another thing point of that, and good points by the way, is we are not in a declining market in terms of values. We're
right,
not.
right.
And that's very clear for us. We're not in a declining market, and the home sellers aren't in distress. So we
Mm-hmm.
have, but to your point too, you just got to do your homework and do
Yeah, do
and
your
have your
homework.
agent. The agent, my gosh, we talk about this so often. It blows my mind that the number of agents and lenders who don't call listing agent.
I can't even believe it. Pick up the
I
phone,
mean,
people. What are you
yeah, come
getting
on,
paid the
right?
big bucks for? Well,
Yeah,
hopefully we're gonna see some thinning of the herd here with things getting where you have to use, more brains than just throwing
yeah.
everybody money at problems. But
True.
we have that rule. This is blowing my mind. It's like the lawsuit settlement that we have to sign broker
Uh,
agreements,
yeah.
with buyers before we take
Hmm.
them out shopping.
Hmm.
Like we have to sit down and have a whole discussion with them and that sort of thing. And I have ran into two agents in the last week that don't sign buyer broker agreements.
Mm.
I think that would be a violation now at this point. Like you have to sign it. But
Yeah.
the reason why they haven't signed
Hmm.
them, I want you to
Hmm.
think about this, Rick. In
Hmm.
my opinion, and one of them told me this, so it's not just my opinion, but I think that the general consensus of the agents who are not signing the buyer broker agreement is because they don't know how to present it to the buyer. They can't negotiate their own payment, which would be a red flag for you as a buyer. How are they going to negotiate my offer on my house if they can't even present an agreement for us to work together and
It's a valid
clearly
point.
how much I'm going to get paid? Like
Yeah,
the
that's a very
confrontational
valid point.
skills,
Hmm.
which,
Hmm.
confrontation doesn't mean like ugly, but the ability to have a
Well,
conversation about your value, what you're going to get paid, what the
yeah,
rules of engagement are,
and
what they
negotiating
want.
terms.
Yeah, if they can't figure this
Yeah,
out, how in the hell are they taking people out shopping to spend $1 million on buying a house?
right.
This
No, that's a very valid
industry is
point.
exhausting sometimes.
If they're not able to articulate their value proposition to you as a buyer, how are they going to do that to a seller if you're making an offer? Probably not real well.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, it was alarming. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I mean, after all of our training and all this kind of stuff, I mean, it's a
Hmm.
good idea. It's a good practice. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's a lot of information for people this week. Be very
Yeah, it's a lot of good
careful who
stuff.
you're
Yeah.
working with, what your plan is. Make sure they pick up the phone and talk to people, respond quickly, can negotiate their own payment, and yeah,
Hmm.
those are some good hints.
Good stuff. All good stuff for sure.
All right,
Yeah.
Rick. How are interest rates this week? Was a kind of a crazy weekend with
Yeah, it's interesting
political
what's going
stuff.
on. All
Yeah.
the world stage right now is certainly there's a lot of things driving rates. Maybe it's another discussion for maybe next week, but um, yeah, the situation in Iran and Israel certainly has an impact on the markets. Interestingly enough, the Fed governors, now what happens is the Fed governors meet every month and they decide rate policy. The overwhelming consensus has been that we will not see a Fed discount rate change until probably fourth quarter of this year.
Hmm.
In recent weeks, however, the Fed governors per se are becoming more dovish, and they're not taking the idea of a potential rate cut off the table for July. So it
Hmm.
could happen sooner than later. I think there's a lot more behind all of this, but we have to look at certainly the situation in Iran is important
Hmm.
consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But what's going to really drive this is you have to look at the economic data, and primarily what the market looks at right now is jobs. If jobs are healthy and the job market's strong, they're going to be less resistant to another Fed cut. However, it will happen at some point this year because the market, economic data, the economy certainly is slowing, and that's why they raised these rates over the last couple of years was to do exactly that, which is slow the economy, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's healthy for the markets. So I think we're kind of in a period of time here where rates are still pretty good. By the way, when we say that the Feds may cut the rate a quarter point, that does not mean mortgage rates will drop a quarter point overnight.
Right. Right.
I think
Yeah.
that the mortgage rates, they're really big for us, is the mortgage rates will go down over time. It's like I always say that in the real estate or the mortgage market, watching rates, when rates are going up, it's like watching a raging forest fire.
Right.
And when rates are going down, it's like watching grass grow. It's
Mm-hmm.
painful. And so it happens very, very slowly over a period of time. The good news is we're trending and the consensus is that we're trending in that direction over time. It won't happen
Mm-hmm.
overnight. So that's also
Mm-hmm.
healthy for the market. I'm okay
Right.
with that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, it sounds like it's a lot of information out there. We'll see what happens, and yeah, we'll see how the rates go in the next. When are they meeting in July? Do you know?
I don't know the exact date. It's about
Yeah,
middle
yeah,
of month, mid-month, I think.
mid-month. Right.
Yeah,
All right. Well, we'll take a look and see what happens.
it's gonna be fun.
All right, Rick. Thanks for your time, and
Thank you,
we'll
Megan.
see you
Appreciate
next
you as
week.
always. All right, take care. See ya.